As mentioned in the past lessons, cells may be small, but they contribute to many functions of an organism. Most of its work requires energy, which a cell can make by itself if it has access to the right kind of fuel. Today, we will be learning the different types of energy around us and how they operate in our world. There are two types of energy in this universe. There is passive or potential energy, and there is active energy or kinetic energy. Passive energy is stored for later work in chemical, gravitational, mechanical, and nuclear states. Chemical energy is stored in the bonds between atoms and molecules. Some items that contain this type of energy are batteries, coal, and petroleum. Nuclear energy is stored in an atom's nucleus, which helps it hold together. Large amounts of energy can be released if the nucleus is split. Mechanical energy is stored in objects under tension, like a rubber band pulled taut, or a compressed spring. Gravitational energy is stored in the height and weight of an object. When a large, heavy item is dropped from a great height, gravitational energy converts to motion energy. Active energy happens when objects are currently moving. This can be found in electrical energy, heat, light, and sound. Electrical energy is carried by electrons. Lightning and electricity moving through a wire are a few examples of this energy in movement. Heat, or thermal energy, is a type of energy held by a substance. As the atoms that comprise the substance move faster and faster, the heat increases. Light is a type of radiant energy which travels in transverse waves. Other types of radiant energy include visible light, X-rays, gamma rays, and radio waves. Sound is a type of energy that is transferred through an object or substance in waves, and it is produced when force causes that object or substance to vibrate. Thermodynamics is a branch of physics that studies how different types of energy work and how energy changes from one type to another. Energy can be converted from one type to another, but energy conversion must always involve thermal energy. There are two laws of thermodynamics that explain the way living things function. The first law of thermodynamics, the conservation of energy, states that energy in any closed system, like Earth, can neither be created nor destroyed, only altered in form. The second law of thermodynamics, entropy, states that as the potential energy in a system decreases, the entropy, or disorder, in the system increases. This means energy transfer can never be perfectly efficient. Some energy in the form of heat is always lost in the conversion process. This loss of energy in the form of heat can be observed in ATP production during cell respiration. In the next part of this lesson, we will learn about the different types of energy used by organisms that allow them to function and perform various tasks. Photosynthetic organisms are considered primary producers on Earth because they source their energy directly from the sun and can essentially feed themselves. By absorbing energy from the sun and converting it to sugar, they transfer that energy into new organisms when eaten by herbivores, or primary consumers. Carnivores, or secondary consumers, then eat herbivores, further spreading the energy in the system. All the thousands of chemical reactions carried out in your cells that help create energy and keep you alive are collectively called metabolism. This process is made possible by scores of interconnected chains of chemical reactions called cellular pathways. There are two types of metabolic pathways. Anabolic pathways build up molecules using free energy within the cell, and catabolic pathways break them down into smaller molecules and release free energy. The chemical reactions in metabolic pathways are able to happen thanks to the catalyzation and facilitation of proteins called enzymes. The main function of enzymes is to kickstart and accelerate the biochemical reactions inside cells. Enzymes are not destroyed in these reactions and can be used over and over again. In order to catalyze a chemical reaction, enzymes must have a molecule to react with. called a substrate. Depending on the substrate concentration, individual enzymes can perform a specific reaction at a certain speed and duration. As the substrate or substrates bind to the enzyme, the molecules fit together to create a new, temporary molecule called an enzyme-substrate complex. When the enzyme and substrates bind together, they change shape. But once the products of the reaction are generated, they come apart and regain their previous shapes. All organisms need an energy source they can use to power their bodies. Adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is a very specific form of stored energy used to power every organism on Earth. ATP is a molecule composed of adenine, ribose, and 3 phosphate groups. ATP is able to eject the last phosphate group on the chain to create adenosine diphosphate, or ADP. During this reaction, when the 3rd phosphate group is kicked off the end of the chain, free energy is released, and it will attach to adenosine monophosphate, or AMP. The AMP molecule then finds a place in the cell to make itself useful. AMP can then be recycled into ADP or ATP. Through the process of cellular respiration, a phosphate can be added to the end of the phosphate chain in ADP to create energy-storing ATP once again. In the cell, AMP, ADP, and ATP are constantly cycling between each other as biological reactions take place within the cell. Now that you know the different types of energy and how energy works in living organisms, you know a little more about why you and those around you function the way they do. That's everything we have in this lesson. If you need to review what you learned, go to www.scienceaide.com and access our study guide, download the PDF, and learn science smarter.